Hi, my name is Trevor with Embers Fireplaces. We're going to just give you a couple tips here on how to change out a gasket for a wood stove door. So we'll kind of go over, first thing we want to talk about is what you're going to need. What you're going to need is we like to use a glass cleaner because while we're taking the door apart, we might as well clean the glass. So we have a high temp stove cleaner. You don't want to use regular Windex or anything like that, but you want to make sure you use a high temperature glass cleaner. To replace the gasket, we're going to want gasket glue or gasket cement. That's going to help us adhere the new gasket material. Obviously the new gasket itself, towel to clean the gasket. We like to use the scissors too, obviously to cut your gasket length. And then sometimes it's handy to have a pocket knife, so we have a pocket knife as well. And in this particular case, this won't be the case with everyone, but there's these little metal brackets on the door, so we're going to need a screw gun to take these brackets off, or a screwdriver in this case. So we'll show you what to do. Obviously the first thing, you can see we already did it, is to remove the old gasket material. So we pulled off this gasket material. This came off pretty easy. Sometimes when we're taking a gasket material off, that's not going to be the case. It's going to come off in pieces, and a lot of it, depending on how the old gasket material was glued on, a lot of it can get stuck on the inside of the door here. So we'll show you here. I'll zoom in here, right here. If you see, here's some old gasket cement and some old gasket material. So we want to make sure that we can get all of that out. You can use different tools to scrape all of that out, but we want to make sure we get all of this out as well. One other tool we forgot to mention we keep is it's important to keep a brush, because when you're putting new gasket glue in here, you don't want a lot of crumbs or debris in here, because if you have a lot of debris in this, it's not going to adhere well, and then you're just going to have the same problem. Alright, so I'll show you here on this. If you have an old bracket, you got to take this off. So we take that off. So we remove our brackets. Okay, so now we got this brushed out, and you can see we did a pretty good job of getting all of that out of there. So now that that's all out, now the next thing we need to do is match up the size with our old gasket. So this was the old gasket that sat in this track here. Now it's really important when we put our new gasket in that we use the same size, because if we use gasket that's too big, the door won't be able to shut. And if we use gasket that's too small, then you're not going to get a nice airtight seal and your stove's going to be leaking. So it's important that we match up our size. So that's the critical importance, is getting the right size gasket. Alright, so it's important you want to do kind of a dry fit. So this fits very nicely. You can see you got a nice tight fit in here. So now we know we can go ahead and put our gasket cement in. So here's our gasket cement that we use. You can pick this up from us, or you can probably get it at your local fireplace shop. And you just want to, just kind of throw a bead of it in there. Okay, so you can see we got our bead of gasket cement in here. So now we're going to go ahead. It's pretty intuitive, pretty straightforward.
It's so dark.
I'll lighten it. So it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of work it in there. I have a little dull tool on my pocket knife that I like to use, and just kind of press it into the gasket cement so you get a nice. Alright, so now that that's done, I kind of give it a once over again, just to make sure you don't got a lot of excess gasket glue sticking out, because once that hardens, it's kind of a pain in the neck to get out of there. So make sure you have a nice smooth fit, and then from there, just give it another once over, and let it dry overnight. So that's how you change out gasket material on a door. It's very important you keep an eye on that, because what happens is if your gasket wears out and your door doesn't get a tight, that gasket can't get a tight seal on your stove, it's not going to be nearly as airtight as it should be, and your efficiency levels are going to go way down. It's going to burn way too hot, and you're going to burn through wood way too fast, because there's way too much oxygen getting into your stove there. So check out your wood stove regularly. Make sure your gasket material is in good shape. You can always try to switch it out yourself and get all the materials from us. Otherwise, take it down to your local fireplace shop, and they should be able to do it for you. Again, my name is Trevor with Embers Fireplaces. You can check out more tips on our website at www.blazingembers.com. You can call or text anyone at any of our staff at 805-952-5440. Thanks a lot for checking out our video.